Hey everybody, Joe here. So in this video, I have a second round of Weaverspace Summit highlights throughout the years. Again, these are some of users, attendees' favorite talks. So here we have three more talks. First one is from Brett Carmichael. He's going to talk about how to score 100s on Google page speed. And then we're going to get into Josh Hardwick from Ahrefs, great SEO company, really in-depth tool, some great stuff there about how to target the right keywords and do some search engine optimization for your websites. And the last one was one of my favorites from Master himself, Paul Russum, giving just a masterclass on Affinity Designer. So I hope you enjoy these. It was really hard going through and picking out the highlights because these talks were full of so many amazing points that I wish you could access all of them. And you can if you get your ticket to the summit. Yeah, you'll get access to all these talks plus a whole lot more. All the talks for the past 7 years plus you'll get access to. So go ahead, please go ahead and get your ticket now. And hopefully we'll see you then. Take care, enjoy these highlights, and we'll see you at the summit this year. Bye.
All right, so I set up just a simple landing page for this, and I just it's online right now. You can visit it. I'm not saying it's pretty or it's beautiful, but it's serviceable. And I just want to show, like, I ran this through Google page speed here before our session. You can see our mobile here. I got a 99, and our desktop we got 100. So those are pretty good scores. They all pass core web vitals and stuff, which Google cares about. Um, Now, now first, I just want to say you should always focus on user experience. Like, don't just go for like a good page speed score on Google. That's not the right way to approach building a website. You want it to load fast for the user, and you want it to load fast on desktop and, importantly, mobile, where most of web browsing happens. I also use GT metrics to kind of inform like how I do page speed here. The waterfall chart is really helpful because this will show you, like, if you have like huge images and stuff, it'll show you what's taking the longest to load. It'll also show you like what dependencies that you have. Don't let this kind of overwhelm you. The really important thing is this helps you with the gotchas, right? Like really big images and stuff. Like I see a lot of time in the forums, like, why is my web page loading slowly? And you have like there's like a three meg image or something, and that like destroys page speed. You don't want any multi-megabyte images. All right. The first thing that you see, you've got site styles here. Nothing, some swatches for CSS. Don't worry about these things. SEO meta tags. There are some performance tags if you have this Joe's SEO product suite. But awesome, like, never get your fonts from Google. Like, you can, but you will deliver faster page load times if you get those resources and host them yourself. And um, I show you, I always use this Google Web Fonts helper site here, and you can download any Google font families from here. Squish.app. This is actually Google, but you can load any image in here, and I'm just gonna take a picture of what we're doing right now, and I'll throw this up here, right? And then you can choose your compression. So I just leave it on Moz JPEG, right? And you can kind of go back and forth with the slider, and I will take this down until it really like stops looking good, right? And then I'll download an image, and you'll see like I'd be saving 88% on this, right? So that's a lot. So I do this with every single image that I put on a website. Like, and among all the things that we're talking about today, the thing that'll probably save you the most in terms of just like outright like bandwidth that your website needs to load a web page is going to be like your image sizes. All right. Now I pulled off a little trick here with my hero image, which helps me, just the way that I put this, it helps me avoid what's called like that CLS, or that layout shift. Um, Google doesn't like that. What that is when somebody visits a web page, it kind of skips on the page. Images, because they like are heavy to load, will cause that layout shift that's undesirable. So on mobile, you'll see that this image here breaks below. But there is a way that you can solve for this regardless. And that's like declaring your image sizes. Google tells you to declare the size, and you do want to do that, but you don't have to declare that size at every single breakpoint. What's kind of neat is you can just declare like whatever image size that you want, but like what's important is the aspect ratio. So if that thing is like 2000 pixels, like your big image is 2000 pixels by 1000 pixels down, and supply that as the size of your image, and then you can just have it display as 100%, right? And it doesn't matter. When I have my image here, I can define size in here. It's here like your what Google calls like their core web vitals. Honestly, like I think people are making maybe a little bit bigger of a deal out of them than they are, but still, if you can pass stuff, right? All this stuff equates to like, what constitutes a good user experience. So, but it's this cumulative layout shift that we're talking about. So you can see like when I loaded this, it was 0.
Uh,
Uh,
do sliders take longer to load than if I just had one image?
yeah, it's going to load all of those images, and then the script for the slider. I don't know. Sliders can be for me like a kind of bittersweet. Like the motion's kind of neat, but the I don't know. I tend to avoid them. I think that's maybe more of an aesthetic choice, but um also like the key, I like to just have like that key message at the top of the page without kind of like rotating that. And also like if I have the same message, right, in different images, and it can make the message harder to read. um, because of the motion back there. And if I'm changing the message, when Google crawls a page, like, well, what do you want to be the key message? Because it's not gonna it's not gonna read them all. So one thing that like in terms of going into like mobile first indexing and stuff,
Hmm.
um, when Google did that, they've been kind of warning for a few years now. Like if you want to have like the same content viewable on desktop and on mobile, where formerly folks would kind of like if they had something on desktop and they would just hide it on mobile, like maybe it was like a something that would be like ugly on a smaller screen. But if you
Hmm.
have like words that you want people to read, like if those are, if anything, like a slider or whatever is set to display none, and the Google crawler doesn't see that on mobile, then it might as well not be there. So that may not be like super awesome for for SEO. Where I will use sliders are like down on like midline and lower on the page, like trusted by X, Y, and Z companies or whatever, or for like testimonials and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Find that sliders are useful there, but I personally do not use them at the top of the page. I don't like them, and I don't think they're valuable.
Obviously, what we're going to talk about today is keyword research and basically how to do keyword research in a way that we can get as much traffic as possible uh, to our website, whichever website you're doing SEO for, and get as much. What happens today is that most pages that rank in the top 10 for a keyword also rank in the top 10 for lots of other keywords as well. So this is a study that we carried out a couple of years ago, I think now. And basically what we found is that the average top ranking page on the first page also ranked in the top 10 for 1,000 other keywords on average. So if you rank for how to lose weight, you now rank for loads of other things that are somewhat related to that as well. Organic Keywords Report in Site Explorer. So you can see that this page actually ranks in the top 3 for how to lose weight, best way to lose weight, fastest way to lose weight, and tons of other things. So it even ranks for stuff like diet plan and other related terms. So the key takeaway here is actually that there's no fixed limit on the number of keywords that a page can rank for. So just to show another example of this, like a super clear example. So if you look for Donald Trump page, that keyword gets around 50,000 searches a month, but you can see that it actually gets such a small percentage of clicks compared to that search volume. So this is the number of clicks, searches that actually result in clicks. So 51 searches happen, 7,200 clicks actually happen on search results. So that's around 14%. And the reason this happens is quite clear when you actually look at the Google search results for that keyword, because Google puts the answer right there in the search results. So there's no reason that anyone would ever click any of the results, because 99% of people's query is just answered right there. And that's why there's such a low number of clicks on these searches. If you want to compete for a keyword, if you want to rank on that first page and number one or as high as possible, the best advice is to actually follow suit in general. And that's at least in terms of content type. So basically, if you see how-to guides ranking in there, then you want to create a how-to guide. If you see product pages ranking there, you want to create a product page. If you start trying to shoehorn a product page into onto a first page where people want your information, it's just not going to work, and you're just going to be fighting a losing battle, and it's not a very smart way to do SEO. So the thing is, though, with search intent, is just to complicate matters a little bit. It's not always this clear. So with the examples that we looked at so far, quite clear and quite clear cut. It's not always that clear, and it's not always the case. So one good example of this is if you search for the query football in the United States. So these are the top ranking pages for that query, and you can see that they're all about American football. But if you do the exact same thing in the UK, you get a completely different set of search results. Because obviously the American game of football and the UK or British or European game of football are completely different games. Based on this data, based on these 2 million keyword rankings, what kind of factors influence rankings? What kind of on-page factors? So title, tags, and keywords in title, and all that kind of thing. And this was a good piece of content, and it got tons of links off the back of that. And what we found is that we ranked reasonably well for the target keyword on-page SEO, but only for a short amount of time. And you can see from this graph that where the blue line goes up, that's where we start ranking, but we soon start to drop off off that first page, and we basically disintegrate into nothing. We're on the 4th or 5th page by the end of this. So what we did is we actually started to look at the search results and started to try to understand search intent of where we might be going wrong. And what we realized when we're looking at these, as you can see here, is that what people actually want is just a basic guide to on-page SEO. They don't want this crazily in-depth study with data points all over the place. They want just a simple guide to actually do an SEO, optimizing the pages perfectly, a cheat sheet or a guide for beginners, that kind of thing. So we went back and revisited this guide, and we republished the entire thing. We rewrote it from scratch with the intention of bringing it in line with search intent of what people wanted to see. We published this in November last year, and what we saw is that our rankings just shot up. So in 4 days after the update, we went from position 40 to position 6. And I think if you look at this in Ahrefs now, we've pretty much stayed there consistently over time as well. So obviously there's no shortage of topics. That's not really the difficult part. Finding these keywords, not that hard. The question is, can you actually rank? And this is where a bit of a keyword research process actually starts to begin. So let's just take one example, chest exercises for men, which gets 4,000 searches a month. What we need to do is we need to analyze whether we actually stand a chance of ranking for that keyword. And the best starting point for that is if you click on that keyword in Site Explorer when you're doing this analysis of the top pages, it'll take you through to this screen, which is in Keywords Explorer. So this tells you a lot of different data about that keyword. So you can see there it's got 4,000 searches a month. You can see that the clicks are about 3,800. So what you want to see there is not something too different, because if there's a low amount of clicks, then it's not going to get much traffic. You can see the global volume, and you can also see like a traffic potential estimate for the parent topic. So if you rank number 1 for that topic, then Ahrefs is basically estimating how much traffic it thinks you might be able to get. So to explain how our keyword difficulty score works, everyone's keyword difficulty score works a little bit differently, but ours is actually quite simple. So it's a weighted average of the number of linking domains for the current top 10 ranking pages, and then we plot it on a logarithmic scale. So obviously that sounds crazy, and basically the translation of that is links. We're looking at links to get this score. And you can actually take a deeper dive into the links to the top ranking pages just by looking at the SERP overview. So basically these are the top ranking results again, and you've got the domains column there. So this is telling you how many websites link to each of these pages. So you can start to get, obviously what we want to do is rank for as many keywords as possible, many relevant keywords as possible, to maximize potential search traffic to these pages. The more keywords that you can rank for, the more traffic you're going to get from each of those keywords, and the more traffic you're going to get. And this often boils down to some extent to the content. Obviously the content, that's what you're ranking, that's what Google wants to show to people, so it's super important. And one of the things that we found to correlate with rankings a few years ago is the length of content. Now, a lot of people talk about the length of content, and I think it's a bit of a myth that, longer content, let's just write more words and it's going to rank better. So we're not actually saying that. What we're saying is basically, the longer a piece of content is, then the more in depth it is. Obviously, the more subtopics and relevant things that it can tackle. So for example, if I write a guide about link building, it's only 200 words long, there's only so much I can say in there. Whereas if it's a couple of thousand words long, I can talk about link building strategies and hiring link builders and different techniques. And then we can start to rank some of those keywords related to those things as well. So that's probably why longer content tends to rank for more keywords than shorter content. But obviously, again, we're not saying to just make content unnecessarily long. You need to figure out what people want to see. Do people want to read a lot when they're searching for this keyword, or are they just looking for information? So don't just make content long just for the sake of it. Is if you wanted to rank for best watch brands, well, if you take some of the top ranking pages, we can see that they're ranking for things like mechanical watch brands, Italian watch brands, French watch brands. So you can start to see that if you're writing about this topic and you want to get not only traffic from these keywords, but even the keyword that you're trying to rank for primarily, basically you want to talk about these things. These are the things that people want to see when they're Googling this keyword. And again, rather than looking at these as a list of keywords, it's not really about like shoehorning these into content. You want to use them to form the outline of your content based on how Google sees intent here. So this is a really good example of how you can do that. So an article maybe that we're writing best, 17 of best luxury watch brands, you can basically divide your content up and create an outline based on these keywords and based on these topics that you're seeing Google kind of relating together.
Now, is there, kind of to tie into Brendan's talk,
Mhm.
is there a lot of cross between local keyword research versus like, just generic keyword research like you were doing right now?
To an extent, yeah. I mean, obviously, there's different ways people search. Whatever they're searching for, there's different ways they can search for it. So I think this comes back again to this kind of old mentality, new mentality. So the old mentality is, say that you're a plumber in London, there's probably keywords like plumber London, plumber in London, London
Yeah,
plumber,
yeah.
and you're not going to want to create pages for each of those keywords individually. Because if you look at the actual search results, 9 times out of 10, Google's going to be ranking almost the same set of pages for each of those queries because they understand it's the same thing that people want to see. So you want to group these keywords kind of by their intent, and you want to target a single page for the ones that make sense. Obviously, the difference with local SEO is that you've got things like the map pack, which I didn't see like every second of Brendan's talk, but I'm guessing he was talking about those kind of things. So you can rank in the map pack and the regular results. But yeah, in terms of the keywords, it's the same kind of thing. It's you don't want to be creating multiple pages for keywords with the same intent.
And so you can see what we're going to aim for. So this is Affinity Designer. And I'm using artboards here. So instead of having one document, what we've essentially got is multiple documents. So I've got a document here called Master. I've got another one here called Twitter Banner and another one called Profile Pic. And they each behave as if they're standalone documents, but they're in one canvas, one area, which makes it very, very easy for creating multiple things that are of the same project in this one here. Now, what I've done here, I've created like a fake project called Bridge, and I've given it a logo and a title and a strap line. And I've got some colors up in this area. It's just where all my spare bits are, all my starting points. And then here, I've got a artboard that is the size of a Twitter banner. Another artboard that is the size of a Twitter profile pic and a Twitter shared image. And then I've got a Facebook banner and a Facebook shared image and profile pic and LinkedIn and YouTube, channel icon. And then I got some icons sitting over here. Now, how do we start? Right. Let's say I've got this logo and I don't like it. I've now got to change it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 times. Except we can use the thing called symbols. This is what this palette here is. And we'll go through creating all of this in a second, but I just want to show you the power of it. So what I can do, so if you know all these logos are the same, I'm going to change this brown color to, I have to move that out of the way, something very silly. There we go, that'll do. Let's make it a bit brighter. And you'll see now everywhere that has changed. Same with the word bridge. There's a button called Export Persona. If I click that, we can get these nice blue lines around things that show me the area. So they're everywhere. They're around the Twitter banner, around the Twitter shared image. And on the right here, on this menu, I've got a bunch of sets. And I've got one button, Export Slices, and I am going to click that one time, and it's prompting me for a folder. So I will say Desktop, New Folder. Yes, we'll create a new folder, and I'll click Export, and done. That was it. I now have on my desktop, in Untitled folder, all of these. So for that, I forgot to turn that off. Now, basically the Twitter that says, if I keep it inside that red box, I know that it'd be on a phone or a desktop, I'm always going to see the content. Now I could go around and I could turn off the guides for this and the guides for this and the guides for this and the guides for this one at a time, and then you have to turn them back on when you want to make a layout change. In the export persona, if I look in Twitter banner, whoops, that's, you notice slices layers. I want to go into the layers, and I want to go down to, where are we, Twitter banner, guides. There's a button here. If I click that, it turns it off in the export. If I go back over top left here, if I go back in, so it's visible when I'm editing, off when I export. I can, using the normal Alt key, make a copy and another copy. And the thing with artboards is, if I click in here, you'll see that that is 00, and I can put construction lines in here. And this artboard is also starting at 00. They're completely separate spaces in the same area. So anything I put on one, so I can set them up, I should say, I can set them up completely independently. So let me put a couple of construction lines in here, in different places. Now for sizing the artboard, I can either use just the corner here, so I can have my artboards completely different sizes, or if I look down bottom right here, transform, I can see that this has got a width. So I'm going to have this one to be 100 by 100. So there's a 100 by 100 artboard. We'll make a couple of those. And I edit this one. That one doesn't change. That's not what we want. So let's go back just to that. And what I'm going to do, this symbol palette. And you get that from View, Studio, Symbols. And it's as simple as, with that selected, I click Create. That's it, that's done now. And I can put that now onto any one of these artboards. And if I change that, they all, you can see the one in the top right is changing as well.